Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Tutorials. In AWS Tutorials, we provide workshops and exercises to learn about AWS services. These workshops and exercises are published to our website aws-dozo.com, and then you can follow the instructions of the workshop and exercises to implement certain scenarios and learn about AWS services. Today I'm going to talk about how you can use Amazon Cloud Map to create a service discovery and use service discovery to implement your applications. So let's get an introduction about Amazon Cloud Map first. So Amazon Cloud Map is a cloud resource discovery service. If I try to say in very simple terms, when you're building your application, you try to access your resources like microservices and your databases, tables, APIs, queues, topics of the SNS, event box. Yeah, there are many services you access. And what you can do with Cloud Map that you can configure these Cloud Map, these services in a Cloud Map with custom names, with custom properties, and then you can use Cloud Map to discover your services dynamically, and then use that discovery to find your service and then call the actual service. So you are not actually hard coding your services into any kind of configuration or in your application, but rather you're keeping your whole resource discovery, resource mapping into Cloud Map, and use Cloud Map as a central place to access your resources, your services used in the application, and then simply call them. Once I show you, probably it will start making more sense to you. It might sound like it's a simple configuration management service, but that's not. It can really go very smart. For instance, in case of VPC-based resources, it can look into availability of the resources and can also manage the health checks and everything. So let's see a very simple example of what exactly I mean by maintaining the configuration. So for instance, suppose you're building an application where you have got some front-end application or service which is calling some back-end service. Most probably you will like to keep such configuration into a config file or environment variables, and then from there you will like to call these services and their versions of it. What happens with the Cloud Map is that you keep all these configurations, all these service discovery into a Cloud Map, and then your services can simply talk to the Cloud Map to discover the services, and then once they discover or find their services, they can make call to the services to get the job done. Again, it becomes very powerful because your Cloud Map can track your VPC-based resources like your EC2 instances, load balancer, and can also perform health check to ensure that if the service is not available, then route it to point it to something which is a healthy service. So Cloud Map can automatically update your service location based on the health checks and other parameters. You don't need to worry about those things. In very simple terms, you can also, it can work as a simple discovery service where you can keep the configuration of your services and resources and can query those services and resources to make use in the application. So we are going to make use of this Cloud Map today, especially if you're trying to use Cloud Map with other service called mess up, where you create a mess up of the services. It becomes more integrated and makes more sense over there. But in general applications development, also Cloud Map is a great service to keep your resources tagged under various service domains and make discovery from there. So let's see what we're developing today to see the use of the Cloud Map. So in this case, what we'll do is that we have a simple application where there's a simple front end running into Cloud9, which is making call to two Lambda functions. And these two Lambda functions are doing simple jobs. One Lambda function is simply writing a record to a DynamoDB table, and other one is reading record from a DynamoDB table. So pretty straightforward and simple application. Now what we're doing in order to enable service discovery is that in the cloud map, we simply create a namespace, and then we will register two service areas. So one service will be app services, where these two services will be registered, and then one will be your data service, where your table is registered as a resource. And now what will happen that when the Lambda function is making call to DynamoDB, or when Cloud9 is making call to Lambda, they will use Cloud9 as a way to discover their resources before making the call. Yeah, so that's the scenario we are going to implement over here. So in order to implement this scenario, we have created a workshop or lab in our website, aws-dojo.com. This is the URL of the lab, and we have also provided this URL in the description box below. You can follow the instructions of this workshop or lab to perform step-by-step actions and activity to implement the whole scenario end-to-end. And of course, you learn about how to use Cloud9 by doing so. But so this URL is already provided in the description box below. You can run this workshop by your own, or if you want, please continue with me. I'm going to show you the steps involved in implementing this workshop. So let's go to our website, aws-dojo.com, and you can see here there are many other workshops and exercises. I will show you that later, but let's keep focus on this one right now. And you can see here this workshop is published, where you can click on this start the workshop to start the instructions to complete this scenario. There are total 8 to 9 steps to perform this job or this scenario. Let's go through these steps one by one. All you have to do is follow the instructions one by one, and then you will implement this whole scenario end to end. So click on the first one, which is nothing but you need to have an AWS account in order to implement this scenario. And if you don't have an AWS account, then you might want to use this link to create the account. Next one is we create an IAM rule. And what we are doing over here is, since we are deploying a Lambda function, actually a Lambda function is going to read from the DynamoDB. It's going to write to DynamoDB. It will also go and make query to Cloud Map to find the resources. We are going to create a role over here, which Lambda function will use to call the other services. So we are going to IAM and then creating a role over here. So simply you select Lambda, create for role for the Lambda function. We gave a very high user permission here just to keep it very simple. Otherwise, in production environment, of course, you want to go very specific permissions over here. And then you go and create this Dojo Lambda role. So now this role is created, which is then used by the Lambda function to call other services like Cloud Map and DynamoDB. Next, we go to the Cloud Map and create namespace and services. The first step is to create the namespace. So you can create multiple namespace, and you can consider namespace as a container for your services. So you can logically group your services using namespace. Here we are going to create one namespace called a Dojo namespace. And then in this namespace, there are various ways you can discover your services. For instance, you can use API call, or you can also use DNS query. You can keep it private query, or you can make it public query, both kind of things. For now, in this particular use case, generally if you go for like DNS-based query, if you are going for a VPC-based resources. But in this case, our resources are DynamoDB and Lambdas. And in that case, API-based call is enough to do my job. Okay, so we selected API call as a way to discover your services or resources, and then we create the namespace. Once the namespace is created, we need to create services. Again, services are, so namespace can contain multiple services, and each service can contain multiple service instances. So service instances are the endpoints of the services, or endpoints of the resources which you want to organize under a particular service. So for instance, in this case, we'll create two services, app services and data services. And app services will hold the endpoints for the Lambda functions, and data services will hold the configuration or information about the DynamoDB table. So let's create two services here, app services. And in this case, we are saying no health check because we are not going to check the health of the Lambda function or DynamoDB. Both are serverless. But in case you're deploying some service on, say, EC2 instance or based on Route 53 or load balancers, then of course you want to go for some kind of health check. You can also go for custom health check. Actually, I'm thinking to create a separate workshop about this custom health check thing. But for now, there is no health check required because all of these are serverless services, and we create. So we create two services, app service and data service. App service is used to keep only those Lambda functions configuration or endpoints, the read and write Lambda functions. And then data service will keep the resources for the table. So now we can start creating the resources because our namespace and service is ready. So first we create a DynamoDB table. So we go to DynamoDB console and we simply create a table and we say, okay, this is the Dojo table name. And then my primary key is ID, which is string type. We keep everything default because I want to keep it very simple for now for table. And then table is created. So we simply create a Dojo table, which has a primary key as an ID, and then of type string. Okay. So once the table is created, now we need to register this table as a resource inside data services because we don't want to call these tables directly. We want to discover it or query it from the cloud map. So we simply go here to data services here and click on this button called register service instance. Now, register service instance is actually a way to configure to the actual endpoint, whether the actual endpoint is an API URL, or it could be a load balancer, or I don't know, Route 53, or table, or Lambda function, or a topic of SNS or queue. It could be anything, right? So in this case, we are adding this table, and let's talk about a few things. So we simply say I'm not using any VPC-based resource, so I'm ignoring the IP address and EC2 instance. I'm saying I want to identify information about other resource. I give this a nice name, and then these custom attributes are very important. Your custom attributes are how you query your resources. So for instance, in this case, I'll make a query saying, give me a table where name is equal to data table. Okay. And then it will give me the table name back here as a custom attribute, and you can see this. So I'm not going to make a direct Dojo table call, but I will simply use this key value pair, name and data table to query my resource, and then I'll fetch the table name from there. Okay, but here you can add more things like aliases, versions, environment. So literally you can keep like multiple tables, and you can say, okay, the same table name. Or different table names and different version names actually, or different environment names. And your applications can make query based on the version or the environment. So for now, I kept the query very simple that give me based on the name, but you can really create a query based on the environments and versions, aliases, other ways of discovering it. So we're simply configuring it this as a table. And we put these two as a custom attributes which you can use for the query. So my DynamoDB table is configured now with the cloud map. Next, we write a Lambda function. And then this is the first Lambda function which writes the data. So we simply create a Lambda function called write function. Runtime is 3.8. Use an existing role, and this is the role we created in the earlier task. Which gives permission to the Lambda function, and then we simply wrote this code. And this code is pretty simple. And if you look at here, here you start using Cloud Map. So in this line over here, we simply want to put our record. So we're saying this is my primary key, and this is my data, which comes from the event. So I'm adding another, say it's a NoSQL table, so I'm adding another column, say to do, and simply putting some string into it. And this is my table name, which I'm creating a DynamoDB client, and then I'm connecting to my table. Okay, now this table name, how I get my table name? I just get my table name from the cloud map. So I'm not putting anywhere into environment variable or config anywhere. What we are doing is that we are saying that let's create an instance to the service discovery. And I'm saying that in this namespace, in the data service, give me a resource where name is equal to data table. And if you remember, this is the custom parameter we have configured earlier to query the resource. Here, your query parameter can contain other information like give me this particular version, give me the latest version, give me this environment like dev environment, production environment, test environment. That kind of dynamic query you can create. I've kept it simple for now for the demonstration purposes, but yeah, you can really make it very complex. So I'm making this query to a table, and then once I get my resource back, I'm simply saying, okay, so I got my resource instance back. Give me the attributes table name, because that is my table name. So I get my table name, and then I'm simply connecting to it and simply writing data to that. So it's pretty straightforward code. So I simply write this function, save it. Now the Lambda function itself is a resource which client has to call. So once I created a Lambda function, I need to register this one as well into my cloud map. So in this case, I'm again going to the cloud map console, to my namespace, to my app service, and then I'm registering my instance, Lambda instance. And you can see here, similar to the previous one, I'm configuring the Lambda function, saying, okay, I'm registering the Lambda function. This is the instance ID, name equal to write service, function equal to write function. And this is the name of the Lambda function. Simple. So I'm simply registering the Lambda function itself as a resource inside cloud map. So my write function, Lambda function, is now configured into the cloud map. Now we are going to do the similar thing with the read Lambda function, the one which reads data from the DynamoDB table. So you can see here, same way, I'm creating a read function, Python run 3.a as a runtime, and then using this Dojo Lambda role as the role for the authorization. And then here is my code, and this code is similar. I'm simply using cloud map to discover my data table. Once I get the table name, I connect to this table name, and I'm saying, hey, give me a record where ID equal to event, and event is used to pass the parameter to the ID. That's it, and return it back. Yeah, nothing else. So again, this Lambda function is saved or deployed. And once it is deployed, I'm again going to cloud map, and in app service, we are registering this as another resource. Because again, every resource in the application is registered to the cloud map. In this case, we are saying name equal to read service. So earlier was write service. This one is read service, and function is read function. Earlier was write function. This is read function. So again, my Lambda function has been configured to the cloud map. Now I'm all set to go and write my client application, which will make call to this Lambda function to implement the whole call stack all the way back to the to run the whole call stack all the way back to the DynamoDB table. But for that, we need to go and create a Cloud9 development environment so that we can create a client code into that. So we go to the Cloud9 environment. First, I need to set up the environment. So we started a new Cloud9 environment with a very small machine, T2 micro, so that we don't incur any cost if the account is under the AWS free tier. Then we move ahead, and then we go and deploy Python Boto 3 on this machine, because we need to make call to AWS APIs. In order to do so, we need Python Boto 3 SDK deployed. So once we have the environment ready, now we can write the client, and we go and write the client. So first we go and create a client. We create a new file, and we save this file as write client.python. That means this one will write a data to the DynamoDB table. And you can see here, it's the similar code. It's so similar. I'm saying go to the create a cloud map client, service discovery client, and say, hey, give me a Lambda function which is used for the write service, I get my function name back, and then I'm simply calling that function and I'm passing a payload, like this is my test data. Yeah. So this will go and write a data inside my Lambda function. And then, yeah, and that's it. And then, first you write, you save this code as a write client.python file, and then you run it, and this will go and write this particular data inside my DynamoDB table, and you can verify it. If you go to DynamoDB table, you can see that this is a test data to do. Okay, under to do column. Now we can write similarly the read client application, where application where similar way we try to fetch read service at this point of time, and then we get the function name, and then we are simply calling the function name to say, hey, give me the record where the ID is 8. So yeah, remember this is the 8 was the ID generated for my primary key. I'm making the query based on the primary key, and then I simply print the result back, which shows me the result back. So this was the example where you are using the client code to discover the Lambda function. So the whole flow is that your client code is using Cloud Map to discover the Lambda function and make call to Lambda function, and Lambda function itself is using Cloud Map to discover the data table behind to make call to it to read or write the data. So that was all about this particular scenario. The next step to go and clean up the resources so that you don't incur any cost. So don't incur any cost post this lab. So this was an example to show how you can configure your services and resources under Cloud Map to make a dynamic query about those resources and make use of the resources. You can really make it very complex in terms of query, in terms of parameters of the resources, in terms of checking the health check and so on and so forth. But this was just to give you an introduction idea about how Cloud Map can be used for service discovery. Hope you like this video, and if you like the video, please click on the like button. Please subscribe to our channel. There are many other workshops and exercises like this in our aws-dojo.com website, and these workshops and exercises you can use to learn about AWS services. Okay, so please try those exercises and workshops. If we have any feedback or comments for us, either you can provide that in the description in the YouTube channel, or you can click on the Contact Us tab over here, and you can also send us a message through our website. So we look forward to your feedback. Thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.